What is happening, football fans? Welcome back to another action-packed show of Gridiron Glory. I'm Jaush Huntsberger. The first 3 weeks of the season have shown us which teams can withstand the test of non-conference play. Tonight, we'll show you some of the key league matchups, along with two huge rematches from the 2011 season. So let's find out who was able to head toward mid-season with a win right now. Williamstown's treacherous three-game road trip to start the season proved to be just that, as the Yellow Jackets dropped 2 of their first 3 games in the first time in nearly a decade. Tonight, they faced a must-win game to avoid a 3-game losing streak as they welcomed South Harrison. Now, we welcome our West Virginia reporter, Ian McConville, to the desk to talk about the game. Ian, this is uncharted waters for West Virginia.
Absolutely, Josh. The Yellow Jackets have been perennial powers in the state of West Virginia for the past few years, but have lost their last 2 contests by a combined score of 70-21. Tonight, they took on a South Harrison squad that was rolling into this contest, having won their last 2 games. The fans there, you see, they're fired up, they're ready to go. And Jake Tracewell gets this started off with a screen pass to Bo Wassmer. That's going to be a gain of 31 yards down the left sideline, and that will set up this Dakota Watson 10-yard run on the right side. Williamstown goes up 7-0. And from there, the Williamstown defense was stout tonight. And here's one example of that. South Harrison quarterback Cole James looks downfield. His options are covered. He decides to try to scramble, but he's upended by Watson. That would force a Hawks punt. And from there, the Jackets would capitalize in a huge way. Trace Hart's going to take this one right into the heart of the South Harrison defense and go 72 yards, untouched, into the end zone to give Williamstown a 14-0 lead. He was a catalyst for the Williamstown offense all night. On the first play of the second quarter, he's going to take this ball to the left and go 67 yards into the end zone. He would finish with 152 yards on 4 carries, 2 touchdowns.
My goodness, that's crazy.
I told you the Williamstown defense was solid tonight, Josh, and they'll give you more proof of that right here. James's pass is going to be knocked down at the line of scrimmage, and from there, well, you know the rest. Watson with a 25-yard touchdown run up the left sideline. He had 3 touchdowns and 162 yards on his 6 carries on the night. Williamstown would go on to win 49-7. Meeks there, you see, he also had a solid game, 8 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown. So Williamstown just got rolling on all cylinders tonight, and there was just no stopping this offense.
Well, like we said, they're in uncharted waters so far, but they're looking like the Williamstown of old. Talk about that rushing attack tonight.
That rushing attack was absolutely fueled by dominant play up front. They just gave the running backs plenty of holes to work through, plenty of options to run through, and there was just no stopping that rushing attack when they got going.
Right. Well, sorry to interrupt you there, buddy, but they avoid the 3-game losing streak. What does this win mean for them tonight?
It means everything for this team. Momentum going into midseason, carrying them through to the rest of the regular season. It's just absolutely huge for this team to get this win tonight and be back at 500.
All right, well, you heard from him. Big win for them. Now, if you'd like to keep tabs on Williamstown or any of our other teams throughout the week, check us out on social media. You can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at Gridiron Glory for score updates, pictures, and more. You can also follow my host Twitter account at gghost_JAUSH. There you can get my opinions on weekly matchups, ask any questions, and let me know who you think will win each game of the week. Now, after a surprising but strong 2-0 start, John Glenn dropped their first game last week when they fell victim to a rallying Maysville squad. Tonight, they return home to take on another conference opponent in West Muskingum, who is still searching for their first win of the season. We are now joined live in Zanesville with our MPL reporter, Brad Hawley. Brad, this John Glenn defense has proven to be very impressive and tough this season.
That defense you speak of, Josh, has allowed just under 8 points a game, but the offense has been impressive too. Last year, the most points they scored was 28 points. This year, they've scored 30 points twice this season. Now, will West Muskingum be able to shut down the John Glenn offense? And not a good start for West Muskingum. Stone Morgan blocks the Grant Pumphrey punt, and this sets up the Zach Swingle to Blake Atkins 20-yard TD pass, and special teams for West M haunted them all night. Another bad snap gets them in trouble, and this sets up an 11-yard TD run from Grant Hall. Brian Doan, the defense was great. Brian Doan was sacked the Muscleman here, and
wow, so John Glenn, huge win there.
John Glenn ended up winning the game 61-7. Zach Swingle, he was good at quarterback tonight, 6 for 8, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. Blake Atkins, 3 receptions, 55 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was a running machine, and now he was able to come over through the air. And Stone Morgan was fun tonight. He had a block punt, 1 interception, and a big 37-yard reception that set up a touchdown to put John Glenn up 21-0.
All right, well, Brad, it'd probably be easy to answer this next question with everything, but what do you think John Glenn did best tonight?
Well, Josh, you said it, everything. What I was most impressive with is the defensive line. They only gave up 136 total yards, 4 turnovers. 2 of those turnovers ended up being touchdowns. I was also impressed with Blake Atkins. He added a new dimension, 3 receptions, 55 yards, 2 touchdowns. They're going to need Blake to be able to catch the ball in the air for them to be competitive.
All right, they're now 3-1 overall, and they're looking pretty strong in the MVL. Do you think there's any shot they got a chance at those guys called Sheridan and Tri-Valley?
Well, Tri-Valley and Sheridan is tough. They're at the top of the MVL. But, yes, their defense is that good. They're going to be able to hold Tri-Valley and Sheridan. And if this offense can keep putting up points on the board, they have a chance to contend in the MVL and maybe upset one of those 2 teams.
All right, well, big win for John Glenn, moving to 3-1. Brad Hawley out in Zanesville. We'll be sending things back your way in a few. Thanks, Brad. Now, as most of you football players out there know, playing this sport requires hard work, dedication, and the ability to recharge your batteries every week. Now try doing all of that in a cast. That's the reality that Trimble running back Bryce Smathers has faced all season. TVC-Hocking reporter Morgan Eastman has the story.
It was during the Chesapeake scrimmage, and I was going out for a little flare and just got blindsided and hit the ground and landed on it. Didn't find out till the next scrimmage later. Couldn't sleep, went to the hospital, found out it was broke.
Smathers wasn't aware of the severity of the fracture until 3 days after the incident. Once doctors confirmed the injury, Bryce had only one thing on his mind.
Football. I was worried about running back spot. That's all I was worried about. As soon as I found out I could play with it, I was all for it.
There have been a few changes Bryce has had to make because of the injury, but believes that nothing will stop him from playing the game anytime soon.
He would say it probably hasn't affected his game, but it has. Yeah, I've seen him land a few times in practice where, it's hurt him pretty bad. And he's not the biggest guy, so yeah, it's affected him, but he's played through it.
Mostly learning how to run with the left ball on the right side, which you're definitely not supposed to do that, but always I cannot hold on to the ball with my right arm. Just cover it up. Hope for the best.
Although playing may seem dangerous to both Bryce and other players, Trimble has been following all of the rules pertaining to playing in a cast and have taken all precautions necessary to ensure safety on the field.
And also, I think with about 1 inch or so padding and making sure that's wrapped real well, and it has to be a durable material, it won't hurt any of the players.
Suffering from a broken bone while being thrown to the ground in one of the most high-contact sports out there may seem unbearable, but Bryce has been showing no signs of weakness.
I think it's the adrenaline that's going through my head during football. I don't feel nothing.
Smathers is expected to be out of his cast in 3 weeks and should make a full recovery after some physical therapy. With Wahama dominating yet again and Trimble looking like the next best team, much seems to be the same in the TVC-Hocking. That is with the exception of the pleasant surprise of Federal Hocking. The Lancers are 2-1 this season, with their only loss coming in Week 1 by 1 point in a thriller against Alexander. Tonight they hit the road with hopes of a 3-game winning streak against conference opponent Southern. Now we welcome our TVC-Hocking reporter Keith Turner to the desk. Now Keith, what were the Lancers looking to accomplish tonight?
Well, they were definitely looking to make a statement. Fed Hawk is looking to be the first team since 2008 to start the season 3-1. And in that season, they went 7-3. We all know about Wahama and Trimble. But look, the Lancers are trying to make some noise in the Hocking. But a hungry Southern Tornadoes team stood in their way. And first-year head coach Phil Hoffman looking for consistent play from his team. Soon he would be upset because the first play from scrimmage, a fumble, a turnover for the Lancers. Southern trying to make them pay for that. But Tristan Wolf here would be sacked by Delbert Pete Crum. On 4th down now, the Tornadoes' punt would be blocked by Willie Marks. Great field position for Federal Hocking. And this fan is trying to pump up his Southern Tornadoes. And now Jackson finds Peyton Seal, who carries a few men with him, kind of like a U-Haul truck, carries him all the way to the sideline, a first down, but that drive would stall. Southern's next possession, Wolf looking for his number 10. He's going to roll out, looking for Trenton Deem. Josh, this looks like a for sure 6 points, but the ball will be bobbled, and now it enters the opposite number 10,
no.
Alex Nichols for Fed Hawk. And after a Fed Hawk 3-and-out, Southern trying to make some more noise. looking for something. Wolf finds Jack Lemley in Fed Hawk territory, puts him deep, ready to make a score, but a huge fumble here. 0-0, still a half-peak crumb on that recovery. Now, late third quarter, Jackson finds Romy Casey. A huge touchdown here late in the third quarter. The first points on the board. He had a huge night. Both touchdowns for them, leading to a huge victory for the Lancers on the road, 14-7. A very nice win for them. Very nice win on the road, as I was saying before.
All right, now, you know, it seemed like they struggled to put up the points a little bit, but what would you say stood out to you from this Fed Hawk team?
Well, one thing for them is Delbert Pete Crum. Remember the name. This man had 11 tackles, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. And don't forget, this team only gave up 7 points on the defensive side. So it's a very strong showing for Delbert Pete Crum and that Lancer defense.
Well, like we said, you know, a lot of tough scoring points in this game. Should the Fed Hawk fans be concerned?
Well, I think they should, just for one reason, because their offensive efficiency. They had a few too many turnovers and a few turnovers on down. So don't forget, they still have Wahama, Trimble, and Waterford still to go. They're going to need some offensive efficiency in the rest of this league play.
Tough times ahead, but they're 3-1, looking to prove themselves. Thanks a lot, Keith. It's now time on our show for Extra Points. Hopefully you know the drill by now, but if you don't, this is where we give you highlights from 2 games in just 1 hard-hitting minute. Let's get rolling. We're going to start things out in Eastern at Waterford. Eastern's running back here, Ethan Nottingham, on the opening drive, takes the ball outside down the left sideline for 20 yards, but that drive would stall. No points yet. Tough. After a couple 3-and-outs, Eastern gets the ball back. Joey Scowden is going to run in the option and get untouched. 46 yards all the way to pay dirt. Eagles take the lead 7-0 late in the first quarter. Now Waterford's trying to get something going, and on the ensuing drive, quarterback Joe Pugh, he hooks up here with wideout Austin Shriver for 25 yards, but it'll be all for naught as Eastern would get the win. Now we're going to switch things over to Philo at Morgan. Tough field conditions for both teams tonight, but here you're going to see Morgan quarterback Kyle Erich throw incomplete, almost picked off out there, trying to get to Colton Drake. And on Philo's next drive, Zach Sheridan tries for the option, but fumble! That's never good. Morgan, Dakota Westfall falls on it, and on that drive, quarterback Kyle Erich takes off to the right here, does his best Ted Ginn impression, cuts all the way back to the left, running way more yards than he ended up gaining on the play, but he nonetheless gets down inside the 10-yard line. That was set up 1st and goal. Here they go for it on 4th and goal, but the pass would be incomplete, and Philo would win 35-0. Now to keep up with our coverage every day of the week, log on to our website at woub.org/gridiron. There you can find game previews, videos, and score updates on all of our featured teams. Pretty soon, you'll also be able to find standings, player of the year candidates, and potential playoff contenders. It's now time on our show where we give back to the most important part of it. Yes, of course, I'm talking about you, football fans. This week, we went to Alexander to see who could be the rowdiest Spartan and our next Fan of the Week. Do you mind if I sit here? Is the seat taken? I'm just looking for a good spot for the game. Go Spartans! Caden and Connor. Okay. Both start with a K or C's. Can we get a K? K? C. Oh, it would have been cooler if we had 2 Ks or 2 C's, you know. Whatever. You don't mind, right? Okay, cool. Thanks.
34-0.
34-0. You sound as confident as Vicky Valancourt in Waterboy. You might not catch that reference. It might be before your time. One more time. Alexander! 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 What if I told you Waverly's going to beat Alexander tonight?
I don't think there's a big enough shovel to uncover you.
All right, you look like a pretty athletic dude. Why aren't you out here playing?
I play golf.
Golf, baby.
Golf team represent. We've been hearing a lot about these guys in the red jumpsuits, and they're here. And not only are they wearing red jumpsuits, they're wearing awesome masks as well.
Lock your hands here.
A regular Rory McIlroy. Better idea. I was going to have him just throw it up. Whoever catches it wins. Dance contest. The one in the red. Yeah, I'm going to give it to the Dougie right here. Right here. Fan of the week right here. Week 4, Alexander. Congratulations. Awesome stuff out there from those Alexander Red Devil student section, but although Alexander Spartans have an awesome fan base, they haven't gotten quite the start they were looking for this season. After winning a thriller in Week 1 over Federal Hocking, the Spartans have dropped their last 2, but tonight their chances at bouncing back looked bright as they hosted a winless Waverly squad. We now welcome our TVC-Ohio reporter Pat Moore to the desk to talk about the game. Pat, this is a completely new look for this Spartan offense.
Yeah, it is, Josh. I mean, after losing offensive centerpieces Trey Bennett and Michael Douglas to graduation, the Spartans' offense has been under major reconstruction. But one player that has stepped up, though, is speedster Gage Miller. And Gage Miller would actually be under center tonight, trying to get the second win for the Spartans on the season. Opening drive here, Waverly facing a 4th down, and Trayvon Bolden-Hitchens, he's going to stay on his feet and connect with Eric Renhart for 18 yards and the first down there. 4 plays later, another 4th down. Bolden-Hitchens, he's going to hit Paul Underwood for a 3-yard touchdown. The 2-point conversion was converted. Waverly up 8-0 in the first. Following Alexander possession, Gage Miller, he's going to keep it on the option there, and Mr. Everything scoots down the sideline, 36 yards, showing off a little bit of his speed there. He's taken down into Waverly territory. 5 plays later, though, Spartans knocking, but 4th down. Nathan Stover, he hauls in the screen pass, but can't make it to the first down markers. Alexander, turnover on downs. Seconds left here in the first quarter. Paul Underwood takes the reverse here, 58 yards. Blockers in front of him, but he's knocked out of bounds here on a nice hustle play by Nathan Stover. Knocks him right there at the 12. Great play, but unfortunately, it wouldn't matter because start of the second quarter here, and a few plays later, Bolden-Hitchens takes the quarterback sneak on a 3rd down into painted grass. Efficient flip there, Josh, the referee. 16-0 Waverly, and 2-point conversion converted again. End of the second quarter here now, Gage Miller and the Spartans trying to get on the board, but Miller coughs it up on the run. Waverly falls on it. The Spartans did end up getting on the board, but it was a little too late because the Tigers won by a score of 28-12. So the Tigers get their first win of the season. And also the Tigers scored on another reverse play, this time 60 yards and a touchdown. So the trickery was working.
Hey, when you don't got any wins on the season, why not pull out the tricks in the playbook? It worked out for them tonight, too.
It did.
Now, Alexander, they only got 12 points tonight. They're struggling on offense. Let's talk a little bit about how it's going over there.
All right, well, when you want to talk about offense for the Alexander Spartans, it's Gage Miller, number 8. He runs it. He passes it. This guy is doing everything. I mean, every single play that was called, number 8, Gage Miller. He's doing a great job. Right now, he needs to get some more guys to help him with that offense. Nathan Stover did show some promise, but right now it's the Gage Miller show, and he needs some help.
All right, now let's switch sides of the ball here. Defensively, although they gave up 28 points tonight, they've been pretty solid on defense throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, the defense, like you said, 28 points, but they're staying honest. They're minimizing damage, and, of course, Gage Miller plays defense, too, and he is a ball hawk. So Gage Miller, I'm sure he's going to be pretty tired after tonight's game, but
sounds like that's a name we're going to be hearing a lot more. Thanks a lot, Pat. Now, we're not quite done with our coverage of TVC-Ohio teams just yet. The league that is usually dominated by the 3-headed monster of Athens, Alexander, and Nelsonville, York, seems to be wide open this year. We now welcome our veteran tag team of reporters Mark Pierce and Pat Chiesa to talk more about the conference. Guys, could we see a new conference champion this season?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I said Nelsonville York was the team to beat, but they kind of made me look pretty dumb after they dropped their first 2 games of the season. They did win 2 straight games now, though, and they seem like they turned the ship around.
That's right, buddy. They're making you look a little smarter now. They won tonight 51-12 against River Valley. Get this, Mark. Only 20 points in their first 2 games. The last 2 games against Bern Union and River Valley, 113 points for the Buckeyes, mainly because of their new man under center, the Wellston transfer, Joe Young. He does it with his arm. He does it with his feet. He has been the catalyst of this offense, and they play a winless Logan team next week, so things continue to look up for the Bucs.
And they're still chasing the Athens Bulldogs, though. The Athens, they get a huge win tonight. Joey Burrow brings it out again, but I don't want to tell you too much because Graham Fugazi, he's got all the highlights for you coming out here in just a little bit in our game of the week. Alexander, you just saw Pat Moore give you the highlights there. They pick up a tough loss there to Waverly. Waverly hadn't won a game yet this season, so not a great loss, not a great game there for them. Well, and then 28-12 was your score there, Pat.
And the final team celebrating in the Ohio, the Vinton County Vikings, picking up their first win tonight, 27-19 over South Point. And Mark, what a difference a week makes. Heading into tonight, Vinton County was in last place all by themselves. And what do you know? Alexander, Meigs, and Wellston all lose. And now we got a 4-way tie for third. The Vikings are back in it.
Right. Like you said, Wellston and Meigs lose today, so they both fall to 1-3 on the season. Wellston loses to Oak Hill, which really isn't that bad of a loss because Oak Hill is undefeated. They're a very tough game. They're 4-0 now. And Meigs 22-0 against Trimble tonight. They get shut out. Really, really a tough loss there for Meigs. But remember, Trimble did beat Nelsonville York there in the first week of the season. So tough loss there.
That is a tough Trimble team. Don't sleep on them in the Hocking. Josh, I don't know about Mark. I know we've been having a blast covering the Ohio so far this year. It's going to continue to even get more competitive. Take it away.
It's going to be a heated race, fellas. Thanks for talking about it. Now, Tri-Valley is off to an impressive 3-0 start for the second straight season. But tonight they took on Dover, a team that has always given them trouble. The past two matchups between these squads have been decided by a total of 9 points, the most recent coming in favor of Dover in the Scotties' only regular season loss of 2011. We now send things back out to Zanesville with our NBL reporter Colin Brown, who has been anxiously waiting to call this game all week long. Colin,
oh
Tri-Valley
boy, were
wanted
they
this
ever,
one back.
Josh. Tonight, the Scotties were out for revenge as they hosted the Dover Tornadoes and were looking to improve their record to a perfect 4-0. Coach Justin Buttermore told me earlier this week that this wasn't the be-all, end-all for the Scotties, but it would show how the team stands as a program. A young Scotty out there, young Scotty, maybe future cheerleader, wants the Scotties to win. There you see Strzok to Chris Cup, 19-yard after Tri-Valley recovered a fumbled punt from Dover on 1st and 10, 7-0 Tri-Valley. But Mason Mammarella, he's huge for Dover. He had a 23-yard completion here, first down to Jonathan Fell into Tri-Valley territory. However, the drive would lead to a punt. Then Austin Jones from deep in his own territory, run, bounces out left on 3rd and 1, a 44-yard run into Dover territory. He had 25 attempts, 201 yards on the night, 1 touchdown. Then you see Strzok to Jones on 4th and 14 from the 34-yard line. Late in the first quarter, Jones only gets 12 yards on the screen pass. The drive stalls. This is when Dover takes over in the first half. Mammarella, 1st and 10 from the 11-yard line, keeps the ball for himself, 19 yards. He finished the night with 19 rushing attempts, 91 yards. Big pass there to Brant Raber, 28-yard reception. 3 plays later, Mammarella to Trey Wallach, the 8-yard touchdown to tie the game 7-7. 89-yard touchdown drive for 2 minutes. Next possession for Dover, Mammarella keeps himself on 4th and 9 from the 39-yard line. That would end up to be a Brent Raber 6-yard touchdown run, gives Dover the 14-7 lead, and they would take that into the half. Raber had 6 receptions on the night, 75 yards and 1 touchdown, but ended up with 7 rushing attempts with 1 touchdown. Really a tale of 2 halves in the game, Josh.
All right, well, that's, like you said, kind of scary first half for Tri-Valley, but they came back in the second resilient and got their revenge. How were they so different in the second half?
It really was just a lot of big coaching changes by Coach Buttermore for Tri-Valley. You know, Dover, the whole first half, they had little bubble screens. Their receivers get a lot of yak yards, which really helps out Mason Mammarella. But what was big for them was shutting down that bubble screen for Tri-Valley, and they moved Seth Brock to safety. Just big changes in the second half.
All right, well, Tri-Valley, like we said, gets their revenge. Might be on their way to a 10-0 season. Thanks a lot, Colin. Now, for the first time in 21 games, the Jackson Ironmen have a loss in the regular season. After falling to Granville 28-14 last week, the Ironmen are ready to jump back in the win column at home. But standing in their way is a 2-1 Athens squad who is seeking revenge after being knocked out by the Ironmen in round 1 of the 2011 playoffs. Needless to say, when we looked at the schedule, we knew this game had to be our game of the week. Well, we're all excited for this one. Now we're going to welcome Graham Fugazi to talk about the game. Graham, Jackson lost at home last week. That's not something Andy Hall's used to doing.
I mean, that's exactly right, Josh. You know, after that loss to Granville last week, Jackson head coach Andy Hall fell to 14-2 at home since he began coaching the Ironmen and never losing 2 games at home in a row. And the pressure was building against the talented Athens Bulldog team. And what better way to start it off with the Lady Iron Ladies there, the cheerleading squad getting their debut on Gridiron Glory, but starting it off, Reagan Williams up the middle here on Jackson's second possession, 10 yards down to Athens' 9-yard line, setting up this Gabe Griffiths 4-yard TD run on the pitch from Derek Rafferty. PAT good. Griffiths had 45 yards and a touchdown on the night. Then Joey Burrow, he wants to get the Bulldogs back into it. He tries a rollout, lobs it up to 5'9" Alec Osborne on Jackson. He picks it off down at the 2-yard line. Then after Jackson had to punt on a 3-and-out, Skylar Schwartzel, he muffs the punt, recovered by Scott Sperry. Jackson has the ball here, and after Athens' drive seemed to look like they were stalling, 3rd and 12. Burrow to Luhrmann, 6-yard TD touchdown there. And and Burrow and Rafferty, they both want to get their teams rolling in this contest. And Athens gets the ball to start the half. And you think that they're going to do something here. 3 plays of 10-plus yards, but Alec Osborne, he had a fumble there, and Mitchell McCorkle, he recovers it down the sideline into Athens territory. McCorkle wants to finish off the drive, though, from 27 yards out, putting Jackson up 14-6 after the PAT. But Joey Burrow here, he does not want to sit down. He's going to establish the run game in this drive. He puts it in from 1 yard out, 14-12. And then he wants to pass the ball to McIntosh here to make up for his fumble that he had earlier in the game. 2-point conversion good. 14-14 after half. And Josh, I mean, this game came down to the wire. Joey Burrow has a 56-yard touchdown run in the end of the 3rd quarter, putting them up 21-14, and they end up holding off the Jackson Ironmen 21-14.
All right, well, that ended up being the game-winning touchdown, but this one was pretty exciting right down to the final second. Greg.
Absolutely. I mean, with just less than a minute left, Derek Rafferty, he starts to establish the game for them, and he ends up getting the ball down to the 16-yard line and spikes the ball with 0.3 seconds left. Yes, 0.3 seconds left in a high school game. Then he tries to lob a pass to Stephen Kern, which was actually incomplete, and Athens ends up holding on 21-14 down to the wire at Holzer Field.
Huge win for Athens on the road. Now, they're on a 3-game winning streak, Graham.
I mean, they absolutely are, but you have to look at this Jackson team. We thought their defense was going to keep them in it and possibly get them going, but unfortunately they couldn't. They got Wheelersburg next week, an opportunity to go to 3-2.
All right, thanks a lot, Graham. Big win for Athens. Hey, well, that does it for this week's games, but if you've been watching our show, you know that we can't let you go without showing you the best moments from tonight's action. Here are tonight's top plays. We're going to start things out. Philo against Morgan here. Morgan quarterback Kyle Erich saw this one earlier. He runs to the outside here, and like I said, putting on his Ted Ginn shoes, man. Cuts back, kicks on the afterburners, runs about 50 yards sideways, and then cuts up, gets inside the 10-yard line. But Philo would win this one 35-0. Now at number 2. DB Alec Osborne for Jackson, laying the wood. Boom, big fumble, and Jackson will recover, and they would end up scoring on that drive, but lose the game 21-14. Now, for number 1, Williams Trace Hart here goes up the middle, 68-yard touchdown. This was on a consecutive drive where he just had a 60-yard touchdown before. That's unheard of. Williamstown goes on to win this one 49-7. Now, that's all the new coverage we have for you tonight, fans. But before we let you go, here's a sneak peek of where we're headed for Week 5. It's hard to believe that next week marks the midway point for the 2012 season. We're starting things off with Parkersburg South hosting University. The Patriots are looking to get back on track and start a winning streak behind quarterback Tyler Bolin. In TVC-Hocking action, Waterford will host Wahama with their eyes on an upset against the reigning conference champ. We're headed to Chieftain Country to select a member of the Logan crowd to be our next Fan of the Week. Over in the TVC-Ohio, Vinton County hits the road to play SCOAL opponent Gallia Academy, while Wellston settles in at home against a struggling Rock Hill squad. Tri-Valley and Crooksville will headline our Game of the Week. The new and improved Ceramics are hoping to shock the MVL, but will have their hands full against the high-powered offense of the Scotties. That'll do it for this week. We've been spoiled with 4 spectacular weeks of football so far, and the rest of the season seems to be heading in the same direction. Be sure to join us again next week as we keep bringing you all the coverage from around the region. Until next time, and for the entire crew, I'm Jaush Huntsberger reminding you that there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.